Our next project is going to be the installation of Garmin GMR Fantom 24 radar system. It goes with our 1242 Garmin display, and again we'll be putting this on the 272 center console Tidewater Custom. In order to get it above the headlight that I've placed on the boat, we're going to need a radome extension, and I decided to go with strut. This is their 10-inch model, and I wanted to review real quickly what came in the package. We'll start with the strut itself. This is the 10-inch model. It has a opening that can be sealed, and otherwise is welded, powder coated, and this bottom will seal to the T-top. You can route your cables either through this, or you can route them externally and go through here. They provide these grommets for protecting the powder coat. This is the seal that will go over the top in this area here to seal around the cabling. And they have a series of bungs that will be used to seal around the cabling. So they have a blank so you can drill your own. They have a single small, medium, large hole. Then they have one labeled for Raymarine, one labeled for Garmin. They also have a couple of blanks that you can put in, depending again on how you're going to cable this. If we look at the directions, it's going to show us the various options and the various parts. One thing to consider is if there is any water that gets into this structure, how's it going to drain? They provide a seal for the bottom to seal it to the T-top, and the bungs are supposed to prevent water from getting in here, but then this column becomes sealed, and the question becomes, well, what if water does get in there? How's it going to drain out? I don't know if it would be better to put nylon washers in so that water can drain out. If you cable through the outside, there's this seal that they give you to seal the top, but it just doesn't seem like a very permanent solution to me. But as we walk through this, we'll decide how best to go. The Garmin radar comes with pre-fitted ends on both the power cord and on the basically data cord that goes to the chart plotter. To put the cables individually through a bung like this with its holes in it, you're going to need to cut the ends off and rewire them. To do that, you're going to need this Garmin end pack. This comes with two marine Ethernet ends. They are the RJ45 type, and you can cut the cable and then rewire it to size. So in order to install this, that's the plan, is to cut the cabling ends, feed them through the different bungs. I'll still seal around this. Hopefully we'll be able to seal it through the top. If not, then we'll have to do the external route, and we'll use sealant around all of that. Again, sort of my concern is any water that gets trapped either in the top here where the bung seal's there, where's that going to go? If we cover this and then we route the cables externally, that sort of takes care of that concern, water getting in. I don't know if condensation would get in then inside this structure and cause premature structural failure. I do believe this is aluminum, and it's well powder coated, but you know, the marine environment's pretty harsh, so we have to consider all of those problems that could occur now. Tools required, we're going to have to use a power drill. They have a 21/64 drill bit, number 2 screwdriver, and then you're going to need some M8 by 25 millimeter bolts to bolt this down. Stainless steel is what we'll use, of course, and we'll also use some stainless steel lock nuts. After some further thought, I do think that I want to seal the top and do external cabling. So I'm going to take the blank bung. You have to put it in angling up, and then we'll bolt this onto the top of the scan strut. This is going to set right in there, right on top of that other seal, and just seal the entire entrance. One of the things I've done in preparation is I made copies of this so I can use it as a template to draw out on the T-top where my holes will be drilled, and then what space I have to drill for the cabling that's going to go through the top. Again, we'll drill the cabling holes just barely the size of the cable, and then we'll seal around it using 5200 marine sealant. Let's see what comes in the box. Instructions, these are always helpful. This is the power cable, coupler for the head. This is the data cable. Product and safety information. A template for drilling the holes, but we're going to use a scan strut to elevate the radar dome, and so the radar dome will bolt to the scan strut, and then we'll bolt that to the T-top. Here's the radar dome. On the underside, it marks what direction the front is. We'll want to have that centered in the boat, so we'll center that. Here's for the data cable, and here's for the power cable. They're watertight. You have channels for these, and there's a plate that comes with this that will bolt those down. And we're going to go out the back and then back into the scan strut. Here's the scan strut. It's going to set onto this, and then we're going to work the cabling. So I'm going to begin with opening up the cables and getting those connected. This cable has a protective cap to it. We're going to unsnap that. this up. And there's a keyway to snap it in. And tighten down the watertight connector. There we go. And that will route around this way. Come out the back, and we will attach the scan strut. Now the power cable. Same process, it's a dual pin. It's got a slot for it, so you can only plug it in one way. That pin is towards the top. Make that watertight. And those will fit out going through there. There are plates to hold that in place. Also comes with the bag of goods to put everything together. These cabling plates will organize the cabling so that it doesn't get pinched. There's a single plate and screws for that. Okay, so we're going to turn this over. Put these in the grooves that they're supposed to be in. And get our keeper plate in place. These are self-tapping screws, so it takes a little bit to get them started. I'm going to get these all in place before tightening them completely. That should keep those in line. The bolt kit comes with some anti-seize, and so we're going to use that. These. Go. Last one. Now our scan strut has been prepared with the seal on it. We're going to route through here, and we'll need to put this towards the back, so it will go on like this. flats, and locks, and nuts. Now we'll feed the cables through one at a time. So these are not going to fit. What we're going to end up doing is cutting the ends off here and running these through holes that are drilled to the sides of the cable. We'll want to keep the fuse in line, so we'll come back and re-splice that in. They have two cable seals here that come with the scan strut. The different size cables will fit through there. A bigger one. Power cable is a little bit bigger than the data cable. So I'm going to punch this out and run my power cable through there. Those grommets are two different sizes, so be sure you pick the right one to go with the right cable. Just put the Phillips header straight through there. Now this is going to be like this. Pull that through. Now you can also put sealant on there. But before we pull all that cable through, we've got to get the grommet organized on there. Plenty of cable. Okay, there's our grommet. It's going to go right there. Okay, so now we can feed our cable through. And I'm going to put the power cable through the lower hole because it'll have a more acute angle to it. And I always feel like data cables are just a little bit more delicate. Did I mention they give you plenty of cable? I'd like to leave a little bit of slack in the chimney here. Just going to make just a mild loop like that. We may leave a few coils in there in case we have to do any maintenance. And then we'll bolt it on. There's a gasket that goes on here, so we'll have to feed it over the cords as well. Now it's time to do the data cord. So the data cord, this is a RJ45 cord. This is a sealed end to it from the factory, but they do sell a field replacement where you can cut this. You got to line up these wires, right colors to get the data through, and we'll go through that and then replace it. So here goes nothing. Okay, so that's going to go in there like that. I can punch this with the filter head like that. Now if you came through, I'll turn it back to the power cord. So pull this first. And I'm going to get the cable. Snap this in. Okay, and again, that may be tight enough, but we're going to put some 5200 around it, seal it. We'll leave a couple of coils of this in the scan strut as well, just in case any service needs to be done. The only concern I would have with that is if the extra cabling caused any interference. If it does, we can always pull it through the T-top. Now we'll put the gasket on. This is just what appears to be a little bit of a closed cell foam gasket. I'll fit on there just like this, bolt down. Now what we have to do is go cut this pattern into the T-top. What I've done is I've made a copy of that and centered it so that I can center this on the T-top and pre-drill, and then we'll just set that right in. We'll have 2 holes drilled separately for the different cables. And the bigger cable was the 5/16. The smaller cable is probably going to be a 1/4. They do talk about drilling 1.5 inch hole and then using these bungs to seal in there. But I think I'm just going to make the holes big enough for the cabling and then seal around it with 5200 marine sealant. All right, let's go measure the T-top.